here in Ventura. We're staying at Terry and Rob's house. It's an amazing house. They let us stay on their dock here.
Super gracious of them to do that, by the way.
Yeah, and he even went and bought us some fishing gear because he's like the world's most generous person.
Really nice. Thank you very much, Rob and Terry. I so appreciate it. You don't even know.
Yeah, really. So, we had to pull into Ventura, alter course, and I was going to kind of go into detail about what happened. And we're going to start with the mainsail because that was been brought up a few times in our videos. There was a shot of us trying to repair it, which it worked until we got here, but so kind of go over what happened with that.
Well, primarily the reason why we came in was because of maybe not transmission issues, but we'll talk about that later, I guess. But so additionally, we had these slides that are on the sail. Not this particular one because this is at the bottom of the sail, but at the top of the sail, the top two slides, this webbing right here came chafed through because these are pretty sharp. These little loops that are in the metal,
which is like a manufacturer's defect. They should have tumbled them and knocked off the sharpness.
Yeah, and I don't know if they do or don't, but they certainly didn't enough because they're pretty sharp. They're sharp edges, and what I wound up doing was my old slides are bronze, and the top two are actually significantly more robust, and they're cast, so they're nice and rounded, and there's really almost no chance of chafing. And not to mention they've been on the boat for however many years and didn't chafe. So I put those on the top two, so I added one in addition to the one that was already there, so now there are two instead of just one. And then the next one down, which is pretty far, it's like farther than this distance between each slide on this sail. The next one down chafed off, and I think it's probably because the top one chafed off, so it just worked. It was going to work its way down. But I replaced like the top 12 with bronze instead of stainless, and the old smooth ones that actually slid up and down the mast track a lot nicer. So I think we'll be happier with that as long as we have this particular sail. But so that's basically done. I just have two more to sew on, but I forgot my parts at Paul's place. But anyways, so what else we did is we added these over at Paul Espinoza's machine shop.
So if you guys need any metal done, definitely hit up Paul.
Right, these are
he can make anything you need.
Make anything. Amazing machinist. We'll put the name of his shop down below the video. But this was originally just shackled around the main chain plate, which I just wasn't incredibly comfortable with, to be honest with you. I felt like it was eventually going to bend this if it got pulled hard enough, and I don't know if it ever would have or wouldn't have, but I just didn't feel good about it. So we made these dedicated for the boom brake, and there's one on each side, so they match, and installed them. And they're 1/4 inch stainless steel, so they're 1/4 by 2 by 18 inches, so they're really strong, and they look like they sort of match the rest of the chain plates. So they
look factory.
I think they look good. Yeah.
Yeah, they look great.
And Paul did an amazing job. Thanks to Paul.
Yeah.
Shout out to Paul there.
And we have some issues with our spreader boot. You can see this one is dangling.
So here's the new one. The other ones, the sun has gotten the rubber all like gummy and weird, and so it started just disintegrating and falling apart. So we got to go up the mast, or I got to go up the mast and put these on, and then that'll protect the sail a little bit from tearing. So,
and then we ordered a part that'll be here tomorrow, which is Tuesday.
Yeah, a check valve for the sump pump, for the bilge pump, and our old one started leaking past. And truthfully, if that fails, then we have an 1.5-inch hose open to the sea coming back in, which could be catastrophically bad.
We have a seacock on it, so as long as we noticed it, we could stop it. But
right. But noticing it is kind of key. Because the water would come in and then the bilge pump would turn on, and it would just be cycling on and off, on and off, on and off, trying to fight that uphill battle, really, because the ocean's gonna eventually win. The batteries are gonna die, and no matter how much sun I have, the bilge pump is pretty powerful, so it used a lot of amperage, and it would just kill the batteries eventually if we didn't notice it.
So that wasn't something that failed when we were out at sea. That was just something that we noticed there was a lot more water than normal. So when we got here, Otto started investigating it and realized that that was on its way to failing. Luckily, we were here and were able to figure it out before it actually failed and caused us issues.
Right. So anybody that thinks like, and I kind of sort of didn't know, like before we left, I thought like, I got everything all sorted out. Everything is fixed. Everything's good to go. It's all rock solid. Everybody has all these problems at sea. We won't have problems. Nonsense. Like it happens at sea. I don't know what it is about the ocean, but it just beats the hell out of your boat. And you know, most everything held up pretty good, but the little slides started to tear off. The bilge pump started back flowing.
Randomly, our spreaders deteriorated then.
Right, our spreader boots start coming off. And it's not huge things, but it could turn into huge things.
Yeah, because the boots coming off could rip our sail.
Right, and the transmission may or may not be a problem. I may just be on the paranoid side, but I just rather feel really good about it rather than like, well, it's probably okay, and we'll just keep going, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't work, and then we have no way to motor in and out of marinas.
Okay, so kind of go into what happened. Like, so we're out there, we're sailing, we have the engine off, sails up, everything's going pretty good. Then the wind starts picking up and we start picking up in speed, and we start hearing this noise that we've never heard before coming from the engine, or the prop shaft. That was part of the video where you went in the water. Right. And we're investigating the prop. Turned out nothing was wrong with that.
Well, I was gonna try to, but total fail. I couldn't actually.
Well, but we saw in the video, the GoPro video, that
use the video,
it was fine.
But the dive was a total fail. That just did not work out. That was just turned out to be terrifying. I felt like I was gonna drown and be swept out to sea. So we aborted
Swept
that
out
mission.
To sea. We were already out at sea.
Swept out to sea without my boat. Anyway, or my family.
But it turned out that wasn't it, and so Otto went down there and did what to the prop shaft?
So I disconnected the prop shaft flange and pushed the prop back, and I can feel that there's, you know, it's hard to tell. I don't know if what I'm feeling is just gears and it's just normal and it's always been this way or not, but we've never had the boat up to those kind of speeds that we did when we were at sea in the sound. So with the engine off, normally when you're in the sound, you're kind of motoring around because the wind's always dying and changing, and you just have to just start the engine back right up if you turned it off. So when we're sailing, we typically get the boat up to like 5-6 knots, no big deal. But out at sea, we were like 7, 8, 9 knots, and when it got going that fast, it started making noises. Well, since then, I've talked to a few people, and there's a potential that there's really nothing wrong. Jerry from back over in Oak Harbor really feels pretty confident, like there's probably nothing wrong. And
Your dad's been looking into it as well.
My dad's been researching to see what kind of breakdown he can find on the transmission, to see if I can get a little more information about that. But what I'm ultimately going to do, regardless of whether it's good or bad, is I'm going to build a prop shaft brake, basically a disc brake.
With the assistance of Paul again.
Yeah, Paul and I are going to do that over at the shop. I may be able to get a little video of that as well later once we get it done. But
because Paul's the man, he can make anything.
Right. So
between him and Otto.
That'll take a little bit of engineering, and we'll have to just figure out how to make that work. And I already have something in mind, so we'll be able to make it work. But once we get the prop shaft to stop, like you can just make it not turn no matter what, based on like just using the brake, then it will be a non-issue when we're sailing, because it just won't be turning, so it won't be tearing itself up, if it is in fact tearing itself up, which I don't know if it is or not. But
okay, so we will dub in the video when we get the part tomorrow for the pump.
Right.
Well, the valve, and then we'll dub in the video when you make your brake.
Yeah, and that won't be too long, because we're going to do that before we leave this dock.
Yep. Well, that'll be right after this video.
Right. So,
Pretty much out.
Okay. So that's a seacock that the bilge pump did did go to. That's the bilge pump hose, comes from way down in the abyss. And now it goes up and around behind that up to the hole. It's not a seacock, but I probably will put a seacock on it later. Actually, I'll probably put that up there, but just only later. And then that up here is the side that goes to the manual bilge pump. So that's way above the water line though, and that there is basically under the water line, especially when we're underway. It is very much under the water line, and that will definitely not be. So that should stop a lot of drama. Okay, so what I'm getting a video of is over here. What we're doing is, as I load up my speedy stitch, the little spool that, it's hard to get out, but the little spool that's inside the speedy stitch, it's a pain when you like hand wind it. The thread like twists, and it you can't really load it up really good and even. But I thought about this little idea here, and if you put it in a hand drill, a cordless hand drill, get real close here so you can see how it's all nice and even. So you just keep a little tension right here on this, and as you turn it, it just sort of rolls in really quite nice. And just goes back and forth so that it lays in really smooth and even. Otherwise you don't get as much on there, and then when it's unwinding, it kind of sometimes binds up and stuff. So I just thought I'd throw that little idea out there for anybody that's working with a speedy stitch.
And what are you doing? What are you speedy stitching?
Oh, I'm sewing on these. So I did all the main sail, and now I'm putting the slides back on my backup main.
Because we took them all off, tumbled them, put the
bronze slides on
the new sail that we bought that chafed, and,
right,
and were not machined, and then we had tumbled. So we had these tumbled. These came on our new mainsail.
Yeah, courtesy Paul Espinoza and his machine shop. Which
again, man, lifesaver.
Yeah, right. So we'll throw in a.
I already did earlier.
Maybe on this one, maybe we won't. I don't know, but so now I'm down to the stainless ones. So I'm putting the stainless ones on where I took them off.
And Paul ships.
Yep.
In case you need him.
Yep.
Drilled. I'm gonna need some chow. I mean tapped. I'm getting hungry.
Okay. So So this little guy, let's see if I can get in here. Ooh, ooh. Let's give you a perspective of the space that Otto's been working in. Don't drop. Okay, so you can see what he manufactured in Paul's shop. Oh, it's moving. Yep. Okay, and he was working that lever with this. Okay.
Let's see if I can get a different angle even. So it's pretty free. The disc is a little bit not exactly 100% true, but it was hard to make it not be. So, but it turns pretty free. So as long as it stays like that, it should be good. All right. So the reason why we had to build that brake, we didn't have to, but I feel like we had to, in my mind, is the prop continues to turn because we don't have a feathering or a folding prop. So it's just a fixed blade prop, and it turns when we're sailing, even when the engine's off, and it's fine, I guess, for the most part. But once we get going fast, it starts making like noises that I don't really want to hear. It starts sounding bad to me. So rather than just thinking in my mind, it's just another thing I have to like worry about when we're out there. Rather than thinking about like, oh, is that eating up the transmission, or is it tearing up the bearing, or whatever, we just squeeze that brake once we turn the engine off, squeeze that brake, and then it just stops the prop from turning. So I guarantee when it's not turning, it's not tearing up the transmission. It's just sitting there like it is right now, doing nothing, and makes me feel better. So whether it's doing anything bad or not without the brake, it certainly can't do anything bad when the brake has stopped the shaft.
Well, isn't it not oiling the, it's not sending oil through the transmission?
Right, so when the engine's not turning, it's not turning the oil pump in the transmission, so it's potentially not oiling it. But I don't know if that's the case or not either, because if I think about that, all the oil runs down to the bottom of the V drive, and that's sitting in a pool of oil. So I don't know that it needs to be pumping, but I don't know if it's good or bad to have the prop turning without it running. I know in a car it eats up the direct clutches, so this could be doing the same thing for all. I have no clue. So I just want it not to turn. That's that.
Okay, so this was our video of repairs. My husband's handsy. That was a video of repairs that we did while we've been in Ventura. We were here considerably longer than we expected to be, but we had family here that kept visiting, so that kind of made it nice as well. But don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, you know, all of the above, so that our channel gets some more attention. And we will be heading out tomorrow. So,
or the next day. We'll have to see about weather, but probably tomorrow.
I'm hoping tomorrow. I'm ready to go back out.
Probably tomorrow.
And then we'll be heading down to Ensenada, so there will be a lapse in videos and then another purge of videos.